It's almost a 620 points of cut coming in on Bank Nifty, Nifty 52 at the day's highest point, and it's the sea of red across the screen, and especially the kind of movement that we are seeing in the broader markets, that's a bit concerning. On the flip side, it's the India VIX that is now inching higher with almost 8% uptick that what we are getting to see on the fear index. So exactly that is what is transpiring in very handful of counters that are seen to be lending support to the Nifty 50, case in point being L&T, ITC and even Tata Motors that are seen to be advancing. But on the flip side, yes, of course, Pharma and IT had that negative news flow. But along with that, some of these counters that were quite an outperformer of late, case in point being Eternal, M&M, they are languishing and being the biggest laggard on the Nifty 50 side. Add to that list is IndusInd Bank, Bajaj Finance, Tata Steel and even the whole metal pack is seen to be losing its shine. So all in all, not a great day coming in for the markets, and that's coming at a point wherein we are just 2 days away of the monthly expiry happening. So maybe a lot of these traders must also be adjusting their positions and rollover positions on the back of that. But Aisha, the breadth of the market too is not looking that great right now.
Well, yeah, and the breadth of the market, I mean, to be fair, has been languishing since yesterday. What you're seeing today is only a aggravated fall, but from the word go, and it's dismal right now as we close in for the week. It's a count of 202 standing to the reds, with just about 12 odd stocks standing to the green. So let me start over the green list, considering that's just very limited. It's only L&T, Tata Motors, ITC, Eicher and Maruti, along with Hero MotoCorp to some degree, which are just about latching onto the green. More meaningful, of course, a move coming in for L&T, or for that matter for Tata Motors, which has been so beaten down the past couple of sessions, a little bit of a dead cat bounce, if you will, playing out over there. Nuvama, AU Bank are some of the other handful of movers, but it's really a bloodbath across the broader end of the market. Look at an IndusInd Bank that's fallen 4% right now. M&M is down 4%. The entire IT pack, of course, has been languishing, led by Wipro right now. Infosys is down about almost 3%. Wipro itself is down about over 3%. TechM is headed in for a 3% decline, and TCS also lower by about 2.5%. Then also, there is that end of the market which has been doing really well and is seeing some profit taking. Look at an Eternal, it's down 3% right now. There is Bajaj Finance, which is down 2.5%. Trent, of course, has been languishing for the past entire week. Another 2% knocked off for Trent as well. It's now sitting below the 4,700 price point. Asian Paints continues to languish. Axis Bank is down. Bharti, ICICI Bank down 1.5%. Reliance, SBI, HDFC Bank, all of these stocks putting pressure on the markets right now. But Kunal is here. Let's chat about the market texture with him. Kunal, it's quite aggravated, the fall today.
Yeah, you mentioned the right word, Aisha, bloodbath.
Bloodbath,
So I
yeah.
think it's been quite some time that we've discussed this word, but I think, today's, day is almost reminiscent of that. This September 2024, on a very similar kind of a note, we started off with, the markets being, into a corrective ways. I think we started off from 26,000 levels. I think in the last 6-7 days, the markets have corrected almost 700 to 800 points Nifty. And that too, I think, has happened on a more consecutive manner. The more damaging part, for the markets is the number of large cap names which are now falling below their 52-week, lows, large cap stocks falling below their 200 moving averages. And I think for the first time in the last 3 or 6 months, you're seeing the small cap index trading on the verge of a break below its 200 moving average. So I think that could be another trigger for the markets over the near term, because in the previous leg of the market correction, I'm talking of the September to Jan-Feb 2025 period, you didn't have the large cap, the mid cap and the small cap index falling below the longer term moving averages. But this time around, I think that in those indices could also be tested in terms of a breakdown. So yeah, weak market breadth across, and that indicates the kind of fragile sentiment the markets are going through right now.
Oh yeah, fragile it is. Let's welcome on board Deepak Shenoy as well and find out what he's making of the market. Deepak, Kunal says it's a bloodbath out there for a market which is just doing nothing. And the last 2 days at least, it's been a decisive move. What's leading to this weakness?
I think a lot of things, Aisha. I think one is, of course, the president Trump tweeting stuff, which is, I think, which obviously causes confusion and fear. But it's also about the things to come, right? So if you're saying we will do branded drugs, maybe you'll do generics tomorrow. If you do kitchen cabinets, then you'll do something else tomorrow. Things like that, I think, are the fear that happens. And in general, the weakness has persisted now a year or so in the Nifty itself, and now in the small caps and the mid caps. I think that fear is also showing. Some part of it is perhaps overdue, in the sense we've had a lot of bad news, but we have not fallen that much. So in that sense, I would say markets will kind of plan their reactions. But once we get to the next quarter results, which will be earlier in the mid of October, I think that's when we're going to see who's affected and who's not, and who's benefited from this fall in GST and so on. And that's when we can make more calculated bets. So in that sense, there's nothing driving up the market, lots of things driving down the market. So a 1% fall on the Nifty and 2% fall on the small caps is actually more of a relief that way, that it hasn't fallen a lot more.
But Deepak, you think also what's weighing in the market is this gush of IPOs. I mean, look at the number of IPOs that we've seen in just the last 2 months alone, and a lot of liquidity is, moving to the primary market as well.
Yes, so I was in a meeting where the SEBI whole-time member Anant Narayan said that there is a drastic supply shortage of new paper, in the sense that in the last year, we saw about 750,000 crores come into the equity markets, roughly 450,000 crores from mutual funds alone, and then perhaps 200, 300 from net buying from the other sources, including the FI exits of about 150,000 crores. You were talking of 750,000 crores net inflows into the market. Issuance by new IPOs and everything else put together was about 450,000 crores. So there was a shortage in that sense of 3 lakh crores of extra liquidity that's come in, largely domestic, investors into mutual funds and so on. So I think to that extent, IPOs are coming in and kind of bridging that gap. If there's India, there is an overvaluation that was partly attributed to not enough paper to buy. That differential will fall, and any valuation premiums that were because of lack of avenues to invest in, those will go away. But I think some of these companies also fundamentally have great long-term future ahead of them. So while they may fall in the short term, they will perhaps provide a base for a better long-term story. So I don't think the IPO glut is going to cause a whole lot of long-term damage. I think maybe short-term is, and you're right. I mean, I can't figure out why markets have fallen on a short-term basis anyway. I'm just going to make a guess.
Okay, so that's the take coming in on where the markets are headed and what's happening. Let's just address the flashes on the bottom of the screen. We're talking about the Commerce Ministry statement that has just come in, wherein they're talking about the delegation that was led by the Commerce Ministry and Industries Ministry. They visited the US from the 22nd to 24th September, and they had meetings with the US ambassador, they had meetings with the trade representatives, and apart from the meetings on bilateral trade, the discussion was also held around US-based businesses and investors on promoting the trade investment between US and India. The delegation had constructive meetings with the government on various aspects of the deal, and both sides have exchanged possible views and possible contours of the deal, as was decided to continue the engagements with a view to achieve the early conclusion to mutually benefit. While we still await the finer details, and we'll be bringing my colleague Sumita on board very soon about what has been discussed in this meeting, and more importantly, if anything has been negotiated on the tariff front. We'll watch out for that. But right now, this is the view coming in, that engagements continue to achieve early conclusion of a mutually beneficial trade agreement. So while prima facie that sounds positive, we'll just get you more details on that on the other side of this very short break.